Hey marketers, we are talking about chapter 6 today, descriptive research design. So the previous two chapters, we were talking about exploratory research design, and now we're getting into that second major category, descriptive research. This particular chapter, chapter 6, is going to be specific to surveys and observational methods. So again, we have a nice tree. We have a lot of trees of these little trees in the textbook here, but they're really, again, really great for summarizing information. So with our survey methods, we are going to see a wide variety of different techniques we could use. We could call people, we could interview people in person, we could interview people, or we could survey people through the mail. We could do it through digital methods. Or even mobile. So there's a wide variety of ways we can do this. Lots of pros and cons for each of these, so pay attention to those, and we're going to get into it. So when we look at, one of the things we're going to look at for all these different types is looking at response rates. So response rates refers to the percentage of people who actually respond to the survey. So if I mailed a survey to 100 people, I'd probably mail it to more like 500. So let's say I mailed it to 500 people and only 50 people actually responded and sent the survey back in completed. I would have a 10% response rate. So especially in mail surveys, which are rather expensive to print everything and send it via mail and also include a stamped envelope so that people can send it back, we've tried to come up with ways to increase participation, increase these response rates. And one of the ones that I really like that I think is fascinating, okay, is by actually adding a monetary incentive to the package. So instead of saying, I'll pay you $1 after you send this, I'm just going to put $1 in that package. And then when someone receives it, they are going to feel this sense of reciprocity. They already paid me for this thing. I feel kind of obligated, like I should send it back since they already gave me $1 for it. Okay. So it does increase the cost a lot, but when we're talking about a big study that's going to be this expensive anyways, it can be really important to get those additional responses. When we think about different survey methods, a lot of the ways we're going to try to figure out what will work best for us are going to be looking at things like, for example, do we need to use some sort of stimuli in the actual survey? Can we, do we need to show it to a person where they can like tangibly touch it, feel it, see it, hold it? Can we present it through a video? Will a picture suffice? And that can help us really narrow down what will work, right? If we need someone to visually be able to see it and we really feel like a video is helpful, then a mail survey really isn't going to work. A telephone survey certainly isn't going to work if we need anything visual. Okay. We also might want to know this idea of sample control, right? Can we effectively reach the right people, right? You know, there is a time when going to the mall, you could talk to a lot of like high school age, you know, teenagers. Now you go to the mall. I don't actually know if teenagers go to the mall anymore, but malls are really struggling, right? Going to the mall might be more effective to find senior citizens who are going to do, you know, their like walks that senior citizens get together to do at the mall. So figuring out which survey mode will actually help with this particular group of people. Then we have some situational factors. Do we need to control the environment in which the person is taking the survey? If we have a person who's actually asking the questions as opposed to someone reading a question, is there any potential role of bias in the having a person there, whether that's the way they phrase the question, the person themselves, doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman asking a question, and so on and so forth. Is there a speed issue, a timing issue, and a cost issue? You can definitely, a mail survey is going to be very expensive. An online survey, not as much. Other criteria might be respondent factors such as perceived anonymity. Okay, not actual anonymity, but how much do people the respondents perceive that their identity will be kept anonymous. And then social desirability or sense of information. This is what I mentioned before, that social desirability bias, the tendency of people to just give whatever answer they think you want to hear because it's socially acceptable, right? Even if it's not true. So, you may not want to have someone face-to-face for information or surveys that you think might suffer from this social desirability bias. Okay. So here is another great comparison table. I know there's a lot of comparison tables in this textbook, but they really are valuable to put everything in one place so that you can really compare. Okay. So you can see here, for example, if I go to an in-home survey, right, I'm actually going and knocking on people's doors. It's a the use of physical stimuli is really high. I can take an actual product and let them touch it, see it, feel it, taste it, whatever. But you're going to have a great response rate. You're going to have good quality data. You're also going to have a really high cost to that one, right? Whereas with something like email or internet, you're going to have a really low cost, but you're going to also have a really low response rate. So this is a good place to look at sort of pros and cons of the different survey methods. So lots of different things to consider. So then we have structured versus unstructured observation. So for structured, we have a detailed list of what we're observing, how we're recording those measurements. Okay. Unstructured observation is just really looking at all the aspects of the phenomenon that they feel like might be relevant. There's probably some training going on here so that they know what those are. Natural observation is just observing people in their natural environment. So you might just say, hey, let's go to Burger King, and then we're just going to like watch you order, see how your process, just observe the process, not ask any questions, just an observation. Okay, lots of different ways we can do this. Could actually be personal observation, me as a researcher or you as a researcher observing someone's actual behavior. We might see a researcher recording traffic counts. So I actually did this once for a like volunteer thing in like middle school or high school. And I sat by the side of the road with a college student who's doing a research project. And we recorded every car that exited the interstate on this particular exit, the number of cars, what color they were, what model, like whether it was like a minivan or a truck or whatever. And I don't even know what they did with the data. I was just helping collect it. But it was a rather tedious task to collect all of those little pieces for every single car. Ethnographic research, I'm going to post these also. I think they're already posted on Blackboard. It's just another plug for 2 videos on ethnographic research. Then we have mechanical observation, where we don't actually have to have the participant directly participating. This would be like the Nielsen, one of the Nielsen's measurement methods. You have an odometer that just plugs in, and it can automatically calculate what you're listening to and how long you listen to it. Cameras, scanners, and supermarkets, a turnstile, right, for like the subway, right, counting the number of people. Respondent involvement would be we have all kinds of really cool scientific technical tools we can use now. Things like eye trackers to see what part, when you look at an advertisement, what part of the ad do you look at first? Which part do you look at for the longest amount of time? Looking at your voice pitch and how that changes, all kinds of things. Here's a video that you can find on Blackboard. Just plugging it here so that you can make sure to watch it on eye tracking. Then we have another observation method, which is called content analysis. So here we are doing a quantitative description of some type of communication. The analysis is often in terms of words or characters or themes. I've done this with children's television commercials, analyzing the way families were portrayed in them, the types of families, what settings they were in, what family members were present in the ad, what the product category was, what channel it was, so on and so forth. And then you can take that and actually analyze and find some trends based on all those different units of analysis. Trace analysis is interesting. So this is looking at actual physical traces or evidence, like the number of fingerprints on the page of a magazine used to estimate the actual number of readers that looked at that magazine. We could go to a parking lot and we could look at the age and condition of the cars that are in that parking lot to try to figure out what is the affluence or income level of the customers who shop at the store in general. Another one would be, there's a thing called garbology, where you can actually look at someone's trash to analyze them as a consumer. Okay, here's another one of our great comparison tables. Again, I highly recommend taking a look at this and looking at the different pros and cons of each of these different methods. One of the big advantages of observation is that we can observe real behavior. When we do interviews or surveys, we're not looking at real behavior. We're asking people about their behavior or what they're intending to do or what they prefer to do, but we're not looking at actual behavior. And so, we don't really have we don't always have a great gauge of how truthful are people. Is there a lot of social desirability? Are there things they think they should answer to make them look, I don't know, have a higher social status for some reason? Okay. Disadvantages are going to be things like we can't really understand why people are doing things, right? We can watch them do it, we can see that they did it, and that's about it. The other big disadvantage here is, of course, the time and the cost. It's very time consuming, it's very costly. In terms of social media and observation, the big one here is called Netnography. It's ethnographic research online. So think back to the ethnography videos that are on Blackboard. Okay, so this is analyzing the frequency of words used in terms of comments. It could be colors and photos or videos or whatever that are posted by consumers to social media. These are all sort of traces of their behavior, right? This is like trace evidence, if you will. Okay. If we are looking at actual communities like Facebook groups, forums, blogs that more than one person contributes to, other types of communities online, this is going to be that netnography where the researcher goes in and is actually like a participant and joins the group and then observes what's going on. Okay, so here is the guy that actually created the idea of netnography, Rob Kosnetz. And this, you can check this video out on Blackboard. I highly recommend it. It's very interesting and it's definitely a growing field of research. And that is the end of chapter 6. That also is the end of unit 1. And so we end here and okay. All right, guys, that's the end of unit 1. We have those first set of chapters looking all the way from the overview and then gradually getting more in depth as sort of the pattern that we will continue for the rest of the class into the other units for the class. So at this point, I highly recommend that you read the textbook while you also are reviewing the slides so that you can really see the things that are emphasized on the slides and you can have a sense that those might be the things, those are going to be the things that are more emphasized on the exam than things that are in the textbook that are never even mentioned in the slides or in this discussion. Okay. All right, everyone. Thank you and have a wonderful day.